Yes, people, today we are back on the Audi RS3 project, the Hulk. Today is the day where we assemble the engine fully back up. We're here, we've completed the build, and the engine is going to go in the car. All the ancillaries, the turbo, the cylinder head, you name it. For those of you that don't know, I bought this from Copart for £25,000 as a non-runner. I want it. Oh. Yeah? Bonus time again? Wow. Oh. Basically, when you crank the engine, there's no compression. What happened to it? It had a timing chain failure, and as a result, the car has zero compression. Let's see what happens. Crank it. Wow. We've already pulled the engine out. As you can see, I jumped out the engine bay. Now to get this engine back up and running again, all we need to do is change the timing chain and it will start back up just like it did and it will drive. But being boost performance, that's not enough for us. Obviously it's not. We're going to do a full forge rebuild, pushing this car to 850 bhp. This car is 400 bhp stock. Imagine going over double that. That's what we're targeting. Why don't we crack on and let's go to the engine build area. Before that, guys, don't forget, I got my stunning BMW M3 E92 over here, available at boostcomps.co.uk. And now all you have to do is purchase merchandise to get a chance to win this car. You can purchase a keyring, a hoodie, or whatever you want. This is a £21,000 car, V8, 4 litre. On the 5th of April, that is the end date of this competition. It is guaranteed, absolutely no extensions. We are going to finish the competition then, and someone is going to get chosen to win this car, or 60% of the total cash prize value. The worst case is you'll receive Boost purchase merchandise. The best case is you'll get the merchandise and you'll win the car. Win-win. So go to boostcomps.co.uk and get yourself some merch. Yes, people, we are back in the Boost Performance engine build area. It is Audi RS3 engine rebuild time. So let's get cracking. For those of you that watched the last video, this is the Audi RS3 block, and we assembled the conrods and the pistons and also torqued to spec. Today we're going to assemble the full engine back up. So that'll be basically a cylinder head going on top, sump, all the ancillaries, and build it up from there. As you can see here, we've got a Supertech valves, inlet and exhaust, fully assembled in the head, ready to go on. All we gotta do now is put the head gasket in between, put the head on, torque it down to spec, and get cracking. Let's do this. First off, we got this piece that goes in between the sump, and that goes just over the crankshaft area. So what we're going to do first is assemble the bottom parts of the engine. So obviously this is the piece before the sump. The sump goes over this. Once we put the sump on, we're going to flip the engine over to the top end, and we're going to put the head gasket on, put the cylinder head on, head bolts, and torque it down to spec. And of course after that, it's all about putting all the ancillaries on around the engine, and I think we're good to go. So this part is now fitted. Here's the oil pump for the engine. We're now going to install the pickup pipe, and then the sump can go over this. Here goes the sump. The sump is now installed. Let's spin the engine over. There you go. So we've just transferred the engine block onto the engine table. The reason we've done that is because we're going to assemble the timing chain cover on first before we put the cylinder head on and the head gasket. Reason for that is, as you can see, this is where the engine mount was mounted on, and that is right in front of the timing chain, so it doesn't give us a lot of access. So now once we do this, we can continue with the rest of the assembly. Let's look at those JE pistons, man. Absolutely amazing. Ready to handle the big power incoming. So engine back on the engine stand, timing chain cover back on. Let's proceed with putting the cylinder head back onto the engine on top of the block. On goes the head gasket, straight on top. There you go, nicely lined up. And onto the cylinder head. Here we go. That's looking more like a DAZA engine, don't you think? You see how within a few minutes the engine was looking bare to almost complete now. Light work. Boost performance, we got this. So this is a head bolt. This is what secures the cylinder head to the engine block. This secures the head to the block, and then we're going to torque it down to spec. So there's 6 steps to torque these bolts down. The first one is 80 Newton meters, and then a further 3 at 90 degrees, and then followed by 2 other steps. As you can see over here, the snap-on torque wrench, it indicates when we're about to hit the right torque settings, being 80 bang on. So we're going to go around doing each of these bolts to 80 Newton meters, followed by 90 degrees, and then 2 more times 90 degrees. Right, we're torqued up to 80 Newton meters. Moving on, we're going to set this to 90 degrees and then do the same 3 more times. Finally, onto the third stage. It's 80 Newton meters for the first time. Stage 1, 2 and 3 is 90 degrees. So we just completed that, and the cylinder head is clamped onto the engine block properly. Now we move on to the next part. Here's a camshaft carrier holding the intake and the exhaust camshaft. We're going to put that on top, and I think that's the engine assembly done. We've got a bit of assembly lube over here where the camshafts go. This is just to eliminate any dry starts when we start the engine up for the first time. Here we go. The final piece for the top of the engine. So as you can see now, it's looking more like a complete DAZA engine. The sump, the block, the cylinder head, and the camshaft cover gone on back on. So what's next for us to do is assemble the camshaft gear wheels in the front, and then do the timing of the engine, and then of course we'll proceed on to putting all the ancillaries on, the boring stuff, the water pump, the alternator, so on and so forth. And after that, we're going to throw the engine back into the car. That's the most exciting moment that everyone's waiting for. Soon come. We are now assembling the timing chain. Now what that consists of is of course putting on the camshaft gear wheels. Here's the camshafts in the camshaft housing, and of course these sprockets have to go in a certain way. If you look over here, this is where they both line up for timing. Must be correct, because if you don't, you will get fault codes and the engine ain't going to run properly once you get it up and running. Once we time up the engine, when I say time up, it means ensuring that the timing chain is in correlation with the crankshaft below. So there is a locking point for the crankshaft where it must be in a certain position alongside the camshafts and the sprockets. Once it's there, then can we release the tensioner and set the timing. If you come over here, this is the crankshaft. It runs across the block. This here is the place where we lock the crankshaft. Once this pin goes in, this is a timing tool by the way, once this goes in, it lets us know that the crankshaft is in the correct position. And we have to do the same for the camshafts, which are of course up here. And now you've got the camshaft sprockets. They also have timing marks, which are right here and right there. Now these are very crucial, because if you don't put these in the right places, it'll be out of timing once you start the engine up. Once that's all done, we can release the tensioner pin and it will set the timing of the RS3. Also, if you look up here, we have another timing tool. This locks the camshaft in place and again ensures we are at the correct place. Can you see the slots on the camshaft? It's like a flat piece there. Once you put that there and bolted it down, you are exactly where the timing should be. Very straightforward stuff. Looks a bit complicated, but it's very straightforward. Once the engine is timed up, how do you know if you made a mistake? Well, it's very simple. All you do is remove the locking tools that are setting the timing in place, and then turn the crankshaft manually twice. That will confirm that there's no issues. If there's any sort of stoppage with the engine and it doesn't turn or it gets stuck, it means the timing is off. So as you can see over here, we're currently removing the timing tools, as we've already done the timing already. That's the camshaft lock removed. Now I'm going to remove the crankshaft lock. There you have it. Now the engine is free to move around. So we're going to move the engine a bit back. We're going to spin this engine up. Alright, let's spin the engine and we're going to go for 2 revolutions. This is just to confirm the timing. So what we're turning right here is a crankshaft pulley, which is attached to the crankshaft, goes across the engine block, attached to the con rods and the pistons, and of course through the chain to this other side. Go for it. There you go. So as you can see, while we're spinning the crankshaft, the whole engine is now currently moving around inside. This is the same as it would do when the car is up and running mechanically, but we're doing it manually right now. And as you can see, the engine didn't stop, didn't seize up or anything like that, which means we've got perfect timing. So now that the timing is all sorted, it's time to put the big hybrid turbocharger on. Hybrid setup. Let's go, let's fit this onto the engine. Look at that. Just check this out, guys. Absolutely crazy. This is the turbocharger that is going to give us the boost to go up to 850 horses. Insane, man. You know there's a funny saying, strapping your engine to the turbo instead of the turbo to the engine. That's what it looks like right now. Crazy. So now that the turbo is installed, we can continue with fitting up all the ancillaries of this car. That is, of course, the intake manifold at the front, the alternator, the injectors. They are, of course, the upgraded injectors. Got to run the big power. Not to forget the low pressure fuel pump, of course. Look at the state of this table now. That's what it takes to build an engine. You get a little messy around here. Of course, finally, we'll have to install the gearbox and mate it to the engine before we put it back in. I can't wait, guys, and it's going to be very exciting. Next week, we put the engine back into the car and go for the first start. And thank you very much, guys, for being so patient, as these parts, as you know, took forever to come. They come worldwide, from Germany, USA, you name it. Overnight parts from Japan as well. Yeah, man. But yeah, we're here. We've completed the build, and the engine is going to go in the car very, very soon. So you'll be able to see that in the next episode. Very, very excited to start this car up for the first time. Even more so, getting the tune done and running 850 brake. The Hulk is coming, so stay tuned, guys. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in so far and for all the patience. On to starting it next week. Stay tuned, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.